We're counting down the 10 most astonishing secrets hidden beneath the London Underground, where sealed tunnels, wartime bunkers, lost vaults, and chilling legends wait just out of sight. From forgotten trains to locked doors that have never opened, each entry reveals a shocking layer ignored by millions rushing overhead. Which underground mystery tops them all? Let's pull back the curtain, starting with number 10. 70 feet below the city, a miniature railway once pulsed with life, though almost no Londoner ever saw it. Opened in 1927, the mail rail was built for one purpose: to move post, not people. Its driverless, battery-powered trains zipped through 6.5 miles of narrow tunnels, connecting sorting offices from Paddington to Whitechapel. At its peak, this hidden network carried up to 4 million letters every single day. The trains themselves were barely wider than a child's shoulders, riding a 2-foot gauge track in near silence, guided by signals and central control panels. The system ran for 76 years, unseen and unstoppable, until it was finally shut down in 2003. But when the lights went out, workers stumbled on something strange: a cache of mail crates, sealed off since the 1980s. Some envelopes had already been pried open. No one knows what stories were lost or stolen in the dark. Today, a short stretch of the mail rail is open at the Postal Museum. The rest remains locked away, its secrets sealed in the silence under London. Down Street Station opened quietly in 1907, tucked between Green Park and Hyde Park Corner. By 1932, it closed with little fanfare. Too few passengers, too close to busier stops. But as war clouds gathered in 1939, its forgotten tunnels took on a new life. Engineers moved in, lining the old platform with blast-proof concrete, carving out offices, bedrooms, and a command center deep below the city. Winston Churchill himself used these rooms during the Blitz, chairing war cabinet meetings as bombs shook the streets above. The air inside was thick with cigarette smoke and the constant hum of telephones, lines wired directly to Whitehall and the War Office. Food and supplies arrived by secret lifts. Staff worked in shifts, rarely seeing daylight for days at a time. To keep its presence hidden, false walls and blacked-out windows disguised the platform from passing trains. Even today, drivers report flickering lights and the unmistakable sound of a rotary phone ringing. Though every wire was cut decades ago, the public rides past, never knowing the nerve center that once hid in plain sight. 180 steps below Clapham South, a hidden city once sheltered thousands from the bombs above. Built in 1942 as one of 8 deep-level shelters, this underground labyrinth could hold more than 8,000 people, whole families squeezed into rows of bunk beds. The air always cold, the lights always dim. Wartime records describe a world apart: canteens serving tea and bread, first aid posts, and children playing in narrow corridors, while the Blitz thundered overhead. The tunnels were so deep that the temperature never changed, no matter what raged on the surface. When peace returned, the story didn't end. In 1948, the shelter became home to some of the first arrivals from the Caribbean, newly landed from the Empire Windrush. Oral histories recall the shock of that first night. London, but not the London they'd imagined. Instead, a concrete warren echoing with voices from Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados, all trying to find their place in a city that barely noticed they'd arrived. Plans once called for these tunnels to become part of a second, secret underground network, but the vision faded. Sealed passageways and unused extensions remain, silent witnesses to lives lived out of sight beneath the city's feet. British Museum Station once sat quietly between Holborn and Tottenham Court Road, opening in 1900 to serve the crowds flocking to the museum above. But by 1933, its doors closed for good, overshadowed by a new interchange at Holborn. Officially, the station was simply redundant. Yet the story didn't end with a locked gate. In the years that followed, rumors began to swirl. In the 1930s, a museum employee disappeared during his lunch break. Colleagues whispered about his fascination with the Egyptian galleries, especially a mummy known as the priestess of Amen-Ra. Some claimed he'd found a hidden passage linking the museum's basement to the abandoned station below. No blueprints have ever confirmed such a tunnel, but the legend grew. Late-night staff reported strange chanting echoing from behind sealed walls. Others spoke of fleeting shadows and cold spots in the platform's bricked-up corridors. The myth only deepened with the tale of the cursed mummy, said to have been smuggled out through the tube and loaded onto the Titanic. In truth, the artifact was shipped to the United States years later, nowhere near the doomed liner, but fact and fiction tangled underground, feeding the station's reputation. Today, the entrance remains hidden behind tiled walls. No official schematics show a secret route to the museum, and no trace of the missing employee was ever found. Still, the story lingers, proof that even a closed platform can cast a long shadow through London's subterranean maze. Brompton Road Station vanished from public maps in 1934, its entrances bricked up and forgotten on the surface. But during World War II, the silence below was shattered. The station's empty platforms became the headquarters for Britain's anti-aircraft command, a nerve center shielded by steel blast doors and guarded corridors. Deep underground, officers plotted the defense of London on vast wall maps, tracking enemy bombers as sirens howled above. Telephones rang day and night, carrying orders directly to anti-aircraft batteries across the city. A secret line ran straight to Buckingham Palace, ensuring the royal family could be reached in an instant if London's fate hung in the balance. The war ended, but Brompton Road's secrets did not. For decades, the site remained under Ministry of Defence control, its rooms sealed, its purpose unspoken. Even as London grew and changed overhead, the bunker stayed off limits. Then, in 2014, the ministry quietly sold the property to private investors. The sale came with strict non-disclosure agreements and confidential clauses. No press, no public tours, no details about what was left behind. Urban explorers who tried to slip inside found their way blocked, not by old locks, but by military police, still patrolling the shadows. On the street above, Brompton Road looks like any other abandoned station. Underground, the traces of war, map rooms, armored doors, and the hush of classified history remain locked away. The city moved on, but the secrets beneath have never been fully released. Aldwych Station sits quietly at the end of a forgotten branch, its tiled corridors locked behind heavy gates since 1994. Yet its story didn't end with closure. Instead, Aldwych found a second life, hidden in plain sight. Movie crews transformed its platforms into secret lairs and chase scenes for films like V for Vendetta and Sherlock Holmes, drawn by the untouched Edwardian architecture and the absence of commuters. But while cameras rolled above ground, deeper secrets lingered below. During World War I, Aldwich's tunnels became a vault for treasures too precious to risk above. Wartime records confirm that the Rosetta Stone, along with dozens of priceless museum artifacts, was quietly moved into these depths, guarded by steel doors and round-the-clock watchmen. The station's temperature and isolation made it an ideal shelter from air raids, and for a time, the fate of ancient history rested beneath London's feet. After the wars, the platforms hosted another kind of experiment. Maintenance logs detail years of late-night braking trials and prototype safety systems tested in the darkness, designs that never reached the public. Some sections of tunnel were sealed off entirely, their purpose known only to a handful of engineers. Today, parts of Aldwych are accessible for tours or filming, but not all doors have been unlocked. Staff speak of corridors blocked by welded steel and unexplained drafts that hint at chambers no one has entered in decades. In Aldwych, the line between what's been revealed and what remains hidden grows thinner with each passing year. Beneath the rush of Charing Cross, a corridor is rumored to snake toward the heart of Whitehall, hidden from public maps, shielded behind locked doors and coded panels. Officially, Transport for London insists no such passage exists, yet maintenance logs hint at something different. Pressure doors that lead nowhere on blueprints, airlocks marked with unfamiliar access codes, and sections where even seasoned crews are told to turn back. Oral histories from long-serving engineers speak of zones with their own airflow, as if the tunnel itself breathes behind sealed steel. Some recall being escorted by security through narrow passageways, lined with motion sensors that never show up on any schematic released to the public. Freedom of information requests for these areas are routinely refused, or arrive so heavily redacted that entire pages are blacked out. One investigative journalist spent half a year chasing the story, piecing together redacted schematics and interviewing off-duty staff. He documented restricted corridors, unexplained alarms, and the sudden shutdown of access badges. Then, without warning, he resigned and left the country. His findings never surfaced. To this day, the existence of the Charing Cross to Whitehall corridor remains an open question. Some say it's just a Cold War relic. Others whisper it's still in use by officials who slip beneath the city unseen. The truth is buried in silence and secrecy, alive not in files, but in the stories passed quietly between those who have worked the deepest levels of the underground. Bank Station sits at the tangled heart of London's financial district, its platforms pressed deep into earth that once held the city's dead. During the 19th century, thousands of plague victims and church burials filled the ground beneath what would become the station. In the early 1900s, workers uncovered bones and coffin fragments as they dug new tunnels. Their discoveries logged in construction records, but quickly reburied to keep the project moving. Today, Bank is one of the busiest, most claustrophobic stops on the network. But after the last train leaves and the crowds thin out, a different kind of story surfaces. Night shift staff have long whispered about a figure who appears on Platform 5, a man in Victorian dress, standing perfectly still by the edge of the tracks. Security logs from the 1980s mention unexplained triggers on motion sensors and doors opening without reason. More recently, several guards reported seeing the same figure on CCTV, always in the same spot, always just out of focus. Each time, the protocol is the same. An officer is sent to investigate, but when they arrive, the platform is empty. No sign of trespass, no footprints, nothing on the playback but a flicker of shadow. Some incidents were quietly filed as unexplained in the station's internal reports. One log from 2001 describes a sequence where the figure appears, fades, and then reappears on a different camera, never leaving the platform, never boarding a train. The station's history offers no shortage of possible explanations. In the 1800s, records show a man died in the tunnels during early construction, decades before the first trains ran. Some believe the hauntings are tied to the disturbed graves below, others to the trauma of wartime bombings that once shook these walls. But the sightings continue, their details unchanged over decades. For the night crews of Bank Station, the line between fact and legend grows thinner with every silent shift. During a late-night renovation at King's Cross in the 1980s, workers broke through concrete and found something no one expected: a circular pit about 10 feet across, sunk deep beneath the platform. There were no pipes, no cables, and no sign of drainage. The original Victorian blueprints showed nothing at that location. Engineers pored over old plans and memos, searching for any mention of a chamber or shaft. They found nothing. For weeks, the site manager kept the pit cordoned off, logging its existence in internal memos, but omitting it from official reports. Staff began to whisper about the string of rail deaths that had occurred above, enough to earn the cavity an unofficial nickname, the suicide pit. Word spread beyond the work crews. A supervisor, convinced the anomaly was more than an engineering oversight, invited two psychics to the site. Blindfolded, unaware of where they were, both described the same sensation: a sudden pressure, as if they were being pulled downward, and the feeling of eyes watching from the dark. The workers filled the pit with concrete and sealed the records. But the story didn't end there. In the years that followed, equipment above the filled pit began to fail without warning. Escalators jammed for no reason, signal systems glitched, and trains stalled briefly over the same stretch of track. Malfunctions that defied easy explanation. Passengers sometimes reported a cold, unnatural breeze at the platform's edge, even when every door and vent was closed. Maintenance logs still flagged the area for unexplained faults. Officially, the pit never existed, but the chilling legacy remains, etched into the routines and rumors of King's Cross. Proof that sometimes the deepest mysteries are carved in concrete, not in legend. Late at night, when the platforms are empty and the last trains have gone, a different kind of story surfaces on the London Underground. Station staff at Holborn, Barbican, and Moorgate have reported seeing a train glide through the tunnels. No driver, no passengers, not a single light inside. It moves in near silence, sometimes slowing as if it might stop, but the doors never open. Then, before anyone can approach, it slips away into the dark. Security cameras have caught glimpses, a shape rolling out of the gloom, headlights off, windows black. But between camera zones, the footage turns to static. Maintenance teams have tried to track it, relaying sightings by radio from one station to the next. In one incident, a worker sprinted down a parallel tunnel, radio crackling, chasing what he thought was a lost engineering unit. He reached the next service hatch just in time to catch the echo of wheels. Then nothing. The tunnel was empty. No train, no sound, not even the rush of displaced air. Transport for London incident files contain redacted reports, entries flagged as unexplained rolling stock movement or camera blackout, possible electrical fault. Airflow analysis from one night in 2011 recorded a sudden pressure change at Barbican, as if a train had passed at speed, though no scheduled service was due for another hour. The official explanation: technical error, but the logs don't match. Maintenance radio logs from that same night show a flurry of calls, engineers asking about a unit that never arrived, supervisors ordering checks on every siding. Nothing was found. No member of staff has ever managed to follow the empty train from one station to the next. Its doors have never opened, and when the network comes back to life each morning, there's no sign it was ever there at all. For those who work the deepest hours of the underground, this is the secret that lingers, the one mystery that resists every explanation and refuses to be caught. From a hidden post office railway moving millions of letters in silence, to Churchill's secret wartime bunker, and on to ghostly figures caught on security cameras, our countdown has revealed a London underground far stranger than its daily face suggests. Across all 10 entries, one pattern stands out. These tunnels have been endlessly repurposed, serving as wartime shelters, government strongholds, vaults for priceless artifacts, and the stage for both myth and mystery. The most shocking entries: the unexplained empty train, the King's Cross pit with lingering malfunctions, and Banks' phantom passenger, show that even today, genuine mysteries persist beneath London's streets. Each item earned its place for the scale of its secrecy, the persistence of its legends, or the depth of its impact on history and culture. In the end, the London Underground isn't just a network of trains. It's a living maze of secrets, where history, rumor, and fact intertwine, proving that even the most familiar places can hide the world's greatest enigmas.